fantastic night. Happy Tuesday. This technical climbing Facebook Live has gotten a lot of feedback. It just shows how many people are not alone when it comes to struggling with this and how important of a topic it is for us to be discussing. So technical climbing, whoop, super excited. I'm all Christmassy today. Got my nice green pants and red shirt on. I hope y'all are having a fantastic December starting out, and I'm super pumped to jump in. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about some tips for climbing, specifically technical climbing, how we look at our body, what's going on with power generation, or what's going on with getting our muscles to then move the bike and move the wheel. Also, we're going to be going into some 2 different exercises at the end for how you can actually start working on some of the concepts that I'm talking about on the bike in your exercises. So I'm super stoked. Let me know if you're on here live. I'd love to know that you're here. And also, I'd love to know if you struggle with technical climbing. I think a lot of us, even if we comment on that post and we see that there's other people that commented, sometimes it's nice just to have validation that you're not alone and that it's a common issue for several of us. I think it always just becomes that next level of what's the next technical thing that we want to conquer and what we want to climb, which is awesome about mountain biking because there's always challenges for it. So as we talk about technical climbing, let's talk a little bit about how we look at climbing as a whole. So climbing as a whole, we want to take what force that our body generates, our muscles, our movement, our power, and put it to our back wheel. That's going to spin our back wheel. It's going to propel us forward. As for when it comes down to tips, one of the things that we can look at that we don't necessarily always talk about is our gearing. We want to be able to be in a strong enough gear so our back wheel doesn't go and just slide out from underneath of us. But we also need to be strong enough through our body to be able to push down that pedal for a harder gear so our pedal will grip and not slide quite as quickly. When it comes to gearing, when it comes to how we're using our gears, they can make things easier. So AKA it amplifies my power to the back wheel, and so it makes it spin a little bit quicker. Or it can make it where it doesn't quite, it spins too quick, so we put too much force down, we don't apply it in an even way, and that's what can slide out our wheel or can grab traction with the ground and propel us forward. Having that right ratio or that right level will allow you to not go and go through the pedal stroke, which usually means that you slid out. It'll allow us to put on and apply that pressure evenly, which means that you grab traction and usually you're going forward within that. Make sure that makes sense, everybody. I think there's people still coming on here live, coming on to catch it. So look back. Amanda and Manel can hear. Harmony is tagging people for us. Give Harmony a hand for all that. She's tagging a lot of people. I think there was like 140 comments. 140 ladies she's gonna have to tag. So gearing, making sure that you can apply that pedal stroke nice and smoothly, evenly, and that your back tire is not going to spin out. That requires us to have more strength and more power. It requires it more for technical climbing than it does for just smooth terrain, because we can put it in a nice easy gear and we just spin our wheels quicker, our pedals quicker, and we can still go forward up in our granny gear or our easiest gear that we have. Whenever it comes to technical climbing, we need to make sure we keep our traction for that. And so we have to have it a harder gear, harder ability for us to push down, which means that we need to be able to push down with more force. That comes to our second topic of the night, our second tip, which is how do we generate this? How do we make our legs stronger to do that? One of it is making sure we have good and even weighting on our bike, both front and back wheel. Another is how our posture is on the bike. This is super important for technical climbing, super important for climbing as a whole too. And how we generate that. So if you find yourself as you're climbing that you're pulling on the bars to help with you. You like can't necessarily steer whenever you are climbing harder stuff, or if you're pulling up on them, or if you notice that your body is going like this during most climbs. That means that we're not using our trunk control, our posture, to help us with our force generation and using our legs. We're not using this as our stability to use these as our movers. So anytime when we think about wanting to hold strong, wanting to be powerful on something, we have to have a stabilizing point, a grounding point, and we have to have a moving point. One of my favorite examples of this is even just trying to pull something or push something and you are planted on the ground. If you have shoes on and you are on wood floor, you can push something really, really hard. You can get a lot of force behind that. You are planted on the ground, you have that base to push off from. If I then take off your shoes and now you are socked feet on the ground, you will not have a stable base to push from. Your feet will slide and you will not be able to move that piece of furniture anymore. You have now lost your power generator. You've lost your grounding, you've lost your stability. For biking, these are our movers. We're wanting to move the pedal and we look at where is our stabilizing point. If you're pulling on the bars, you're trying to use the bar, your front wheel, as your stabilizing point. If you're pulling up on them together, same thing. You're trying to use them as a stabilizing point, or you're not forward enough over top of your front bars. That's that grounding, that moving forward so you can weight down that area. You're lifting them up too much. What we need to use is our trunk. We need to use our core. We need to use this part in the center of our body. It's where everything comes through, and it's where us as ladies are always a little bit weaker. It's where we need to be stronger, especially for this. And so as we are strong through here, and we are stable through here, we're grounded through here, then my glutes, my quads, my hamstrings, my legs can now generate more force. They can now push that pedal down. They can move that piece of furniture because they're grounded. They have something to pull from. And as I'm here, I don't need to pull from my arms if I have that generation through here. So then I can utilize my legs and the strength that I have through here. Ladies, we naturally have stronger legs. Naturally. Like, we're built to have stronger legs. We're not built having a stronger core. We have a little bit wider hips, and we need to make sure that we keep that core nice and strong. And I'm not just talking front. I'm not just talking back. I'm talking about us moving and using this as a cylinder. Let me make sure everybody's on board with that. That's a key concept for it. Anybody have questions with this? With how you're generating that force and how you need to be grounded through that? How losing that grounding will just wipe you out. You won't be able to generate that force. You won't be able to push that pedal down for it to be stronger within that. Lynn says that she struggles, especially with that final push to the top where you power out. Lynn, getting that power kicking in through here, through your trunk, that extra little bit, kick that power down. That's where we need to focus in through that. Kira, yes, this video is for you. Amanda, what's going on, lady? Michelle, what's going on? Perfect. Anybody have any questions on this? Michelle King, shoes, do they help? Yes, they do. Shoes make a big difference because same thing goes, if I have power but I don't have the ability to connect to my pedal, then I lose some of that power. Whenever we also talk about machines, so I don't know if you know this or not, my background, I'm an engineer turned PT and fitness trainer. And so I think a lot when it comes to forces, I think a lot within generation of that and vectors and efficiency, because that's what it's all about. Like, we need to be efficient with our movements. We need to be able to use the power that we generate, and we need to be have that endurance for it. and being efficient within that. And so anywhere you can lose energy, whether it be chemical energy, kinetic energy, or like actually mechanic energy, where your shoe is slipping on your pedal, then you're losing part of your power. You're losing part of it. And so having a good set of pedals, it's actually one of the first upgrades. If you have not upgraded your pedals and you're new to riding, pedals and shoes are one of the first things to upgrade. Helps you feel so much more stable on the bike too. We got somebody's asking, why am I having back pain when I'm climbing? Do I need more core strength? A lot of times, yes. It's a lot of times is that instead of being able to generate through here, we go into different areas that stress more of our back, and that we're not allowed to utilize all of our muscles that we have in our legs. We don't actually kick our glutes in. We use only our quads. You get to the top of the climb and you're like, oh my gosh, I just use only my quads. My quads are so tired. Have you ever gone to the top of the climb and been like, I don't feel anything in my glutes? That's another sign that your core needs some more love. It needs to fire. It needs to get more strength. It needs to get more control through that. And also pulling or twisting as you're trying, you're counterbalancing the push from your legs. That's another way that you can activate your back. Christina, thank you. I love this shirt. I feel very Christmassy in it. Rosemary asks, so less moving shoulders and upper body, focus on keeping the core still. Yeah. Now, if you're wanting to turn as you're climbing, that's another thing. And so you're purposeful within your movement to turn, like if you're doing a switchback. If you're wanting to veer in a different direction, now you're able to keep here still. And since I'm not pulling on my bars, I can steer. I can make them go where I want to go versus I don't know how I ended up over there on that side of the trail. I wanted to go to the left. And making sure you can actually use your arms for stability and control, guiding your bars, and your core for generating and using your legs through that. So yes, keeping shoulders, upper body a little bit more still, less moving and using your lower body. Faith, tell me what you don't understand a little bit more so. Michelle King says planks hurt after you try that. Variation of planks. We'll get there. That'll probably be one of your exercises for tonight. So as we're still through here, I can move my legs. If I'm not still through here, then I start moving more through my back and pulling on my bars, and I'm not as strong through my legs. I actually put more stress on my back, and I use more of my hip flexors, which can be why our hips get a little bit tight too. And I use more of just my quads instead of using my glutes and my hamstrings as well. All of these things come into play. This comes into muscle motor efficiency. Are you using what muscles that you've been given? Like, we got legs, ladies. Let's freaking use them. But we gotta get a stronger core to help with that. That's a very, very key part of it. Faye said I answered it. Perfect. So as we walk through that, making sure that we're able to change and move our posture on the bike. This comes into what we call a hip hinge. And so as we move, as we go through our postures for climbing, roots and rocks take they're bigger, right? And so as we go over those bigger rocks and roots, I need to be able to keep here steady and to lift my butt just a little bit off the saddle so then my bike can come up to meet me. So if I'm going down, I get my front wheel up, then I need to get my back wheel up, but if my butt is sitting on my back wheel, sitting on my saddle, not really sitting on your back wheel, sitting on my saddle, then it's going to have to move up against my weight as well as getting over that rock and other demands of that. And so I can still weight my rear wheel with my feet, but I can lift my butt just slightly. And that movement right there, where then it allows the bike to come up and meet me and I can still go forward, is just a slight lift. It's a little hover. It's a way for the bike to come up and then you continue upon. If I stay seated then it's gonna have to, I'm raising myself with that. How we get this lift and feel confident with this lift is, sorry, my promo is coming off, is that I'm making sure I understand how to use my knees and also use my hips to help me with that. And so as you can see, my trunk is still flat. It's still controlled through there. I still have a nice base. And so I'm not just using my quads for this, I'm using my glutes. This position should look deadlift style to you. It should look that my chest is over top. I should not look like this in this position. I said this I did a challenge for climbing in September, and I said this, and I'm gonna keep saying it, are boob lasers. And so as we're looking at where our boob lasers point to, I don't want my boob lasers pointing down to the ground. I want them pointing up towards my bars. And same thing goes for when I'm coming up. That should mean they're still, sorry you can't see me, they're still pointing towards here. I'm not sagged down and I'm not pointing them down towards my feet, because that means I've lost my trunk stability. I've lost my cylinder. This puts a lot more stress on your back through here, and you're lacking control. You basically just lost your stability. You've lost your grounding. And so as you pedal, as you get off the saddle especially, you should have a nice flat back. As you're on the saddle, you should also have a nice flat back. Your hip is where you should hinge to control it more. That's how you move on the bike. So to help you with your boob lasers, to help you with your control and power through your legs, let's get into 2 different exercises. Let me make sure there's nobody that has any questions for that. Beck says she loves it, boob lasers. Lynn says you feel like you're too weak to get out of the saddle. That also comes with, you are working on it right now since you're on the Ride Life team, that comes with more core strength, that comes with more leg strength too. It puts it all together. Getting those 2 to come together is what's key for you getting comfortable out of the saddle. Making sure you're able to use your hips, making sure you're able to use your quads, making sure you actually know what a deadlift is, that you're able to control and go into this position. These are all things that are necessary to help you for on the bike, that off the bike exercises can help a ton with. Y'all, this is like my jam. This is what I love to help you with. Lynn, you're on your way. Takes a little time to get there, but you were on your way for that. Peggy says very helpful. Rose, very helpful tip, boob lasers at the bar. Yeah, just helps you get there. All right, Kira, what did you say, my dear? I have the same problem as Lynn, or I need to get some pedals in that I don't feel stable enough to get up anything technical. This is where flats come in, honestly, y'all. If you feel comfortable that you can step off, if you feel confident and stable on your pedals, that comes into a huge play. If you are able to stagger your stance and get into this position, this is the starting position for being on your bike out of the saddle. Then we work on balance control for one side or the other side to help you with that stability and control for that. That comes into play and circles around. We can talk a little bit more about balance stuff a little bit later on. You guys are gonna be super excited. January, there's gonna be a big announcement and a big opportunity to work on some of these things. I'm excited. Sweet. All right, so now let's get into some of the exercises. Let me drop this down so you can see my thing. Awesome. So first exercise, as we look at how we need to control through here, it's more of a rotational stability. So one side is doing something different than the other side, and I need to be able to control my arms separately. And so we need to train for mountain biking, since mountain biking is what we want to get better at. We need more rotational core exercises for that. One of the easiest ones to start doing is where you're gonna be on hands and knees, feet are rested on the ground, and it's literally you're just tapping one shoulder and then the next. You don't have to do it with your fists on the ground, you can go flat palms. I have some wrist issues, so I go fists. What you're trying to do here is don't move your body. So as I'm moving, it's not that I'm allowing myself to shift. For that, I'm staying nice and still. If this is easy, step out just a little bit, and now you're gonna do the same thing. The key is that your hands have to be underneath your shoulders and your feet rest on the ground. If you lift, it becomes a ton easier because I just use my hamstrings and my feet to counterbalance myself. Here, it's a ton harder, and I can feel it too. What you're doing is you're maintaining that neutral spine. Okay, here, I'm not super tucked, I'm not rounded, my boob blazers are down to the ground, and we're maintaining that trunk stability and support through there. That's what keeps us stable, that's what keeps our control, that works on our core, but works on our core in a nice, easy way that you actually probably feel your core working. And it's rated to your level, okay? If you want to even go full out plank and to really work on it, you can definitely feel that move, that stability and control through there. The second exercise for y'all. Does this make sense for it? Does this help at all to go over some of these things? The second exercise is going to be a butt raise. So a bridge, butt raise, same difference. And what you're going to be doing here is that your trunk is going to be nice and engaged. You engage your abs, and then your hips lift up to the sky. For this exercise, I don't want you leading with your belly button through that, because that means that you're driving too much from your back. I want you driving with your hips. Sorry, got a little tickle in my throat. And so core is nice and on and tight. It's not sucked into your spine. If you feel your ribs coming up, that means you're sucking it in instead of actually tightening through here. I want you tightening. It should feel that way if you poke your belly. And then pushing down through your heels, raise up. This should fire your glutes, not a ton, but enough. And you should feel nice and stable through here. If you find yourself pushing out, aka pushing yourself this way and that way, then now I feel my quads work. Now I'm being even more quad driven, and I probably feel my back. Don't push, dig and dive push your heels down or dig your heels in more so versus pushing your heels out. Now I feel here, allow your knees to drop out. For a little bit more rotational exercise, you're going to cross that leg over top of the other, same position for here, and now you drive up. Now it's using more one side. My hips are staying nice and level through this, and I feel my glute that from the leg that's on the ground. And so if you see from the other side, hips are nice and level, driving up through that hip, trunk is engaged and on. I'm not sagged down on that side. I have that nice cylinder support. I'm not driving with my back only, and then I come back down. So those are the two exercises. We got our shoulder taps, and we got our bridge or our cross leg bridge. These are to focus on your ability to use your core to counter rotation and also to engage your glutes to fire and give you more power through it. You guys like these? You guys like these guys? Teresa, if you can't do a full plank, just put my knees up on the ottoman or stool and do the upper extremity exercises to get the same benefits of the core rotation. Yep, or just do it more so even here. Do it more in the kneeling plank. Or if you have other shoulder issues, then go to more hands on the ottoman. But making sure that you're staying nice and controlled through that and that you're not compensating for that one too much. Let me see if there's any other questions for that. Rachel says, makes sense. Lynn, yes. Laura, there isn't necessarily a link with this. It's just the video with it. Let me see if there's anybody else. Good. Lynn says she's doing so much better. Surprising herself. I love that, girl. You're crushing it out there. You've come a long way from when you first started. Perfect. All right. Somebody says when she goes biking, her arms hurt, not her legs. That means that you're probably pulling or weighting into your arms too much. Being able to offload your arms is actually also a core stability exercise. Being able to control and lift off. That means that you're not using as much. So these exercises would still be good for you too, for helping with that. Teresa, knee issues, not shoulder issues. Teresa, have you seen there's some balance pads that they're like super thick. Airex makes them, and you can have them on Amazon. They're super nice for putting your knees on. A ton of the people that I used to work with that had knee replacements, that's how I would get them kneeling again, or other knee surgeries. So that's one thing that you can look at for sure for those guys. Perfect. All right, ladies. Well, if there's not any other questions, I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope you learned some things. I'd love to know what you got the most out of from this. And yeah, if you have any other questions, have a fantastic night, y'all.